Today we are going to talk about how to graph a circle when they give us an equation. And so this is Roman numeral 2 on our notes. So to graph a circle, rewrite the equation, if needed. That's why there's an asterisk. You may not need to rewrite it. Remember, you need to be in the format of x minus h squared plus y minus k squared. And of course, that still equals r squared. But what you have to make sure of is that it's x minus and y minus. And so if it's not, you do the quick rewrite so that you can grab the right numbers. So once you make sure it's in the correct form, then you find your center. What's your h? What's your k? You find your r. Remember, r is radius. And then you use that to graph. Okay, so that's it for the notes. Make sure it's in the right format, find your center, find your radius, and graph. So let's actually see this happen. Let's do some examples. And so let's take a look at this. Now, one thing we haven't really talked about is the standard form of an equation of a circle, at least not the name of it. We've been working with it. We've been calling it the formula or the format, but the standard form of a circle is the equation that we've been using. Okay. And again, your h and k is your center, and r represents your radius. So that's not new information. We're just going to have it there so we don't have to flip back and forth. So if you go back and look at your notes, the first thing says, look at your equation. And sorry, this is a little blurry, but look at your equation and see if you need to do a rewrite. Okay, we want it to say x minus y minus. So I look and I notice, oh, that says x plus. So I'm going to do the rewrite and do x minus. Now remember, if it's plus, we change it to the -4. Then we check out the next part. The y minus 2 is okay, so I don't really need to do anything with that. And you can rewrite it. And then it's still equal to 25. All right, so remember, this is a skill that we practiced the other day. I'm going to write it over here. The center is your h and your k. And you can just put C for center if you don't want to write the whole word. So what is my center here? Okay, center, my h is -4. My k is 2. Okay. My radius, I just take that number on the end and take the square root. Remember, 25 is really r squared. So if we just want the radius, we have to undo the square. We take the square root. So my radius is 5. So to graph this, what you do is you start at your origin. Make sure you can see this isn't the greatest graph, but right here is your y-axis. And right here is your x-axis. And if they're not dark enough for you, darken them right now. So right here's your y, this is your x. Sorry if I said y-axis right there. This is your x-axis, this is your y-axis. So we're going to plot -4, 2. So that means we go left 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and up 2, because 2 is positive, and that's my center right there. So left 4, up 2. Now, the radius is 5. So remember, the radius is the distance from the center to the side of your circle. So to get a picture of your circle, to graph this accurately, excuse me, you need to count 5 from the center and go to the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to do a different color. 1, 2, 3, 4, and put a little mark. You can put a dot or just a little mark. Then count up 5 from your center. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and put a mark. Then count, go back to your center, count left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, put a mark, and then go down from your center. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And, oop, put a mark. You don't have to make them super big, okay? But that will kind of show you where your circle is supposed to be. Now, you do have to be careful with this because we are going to check. Make sure you're not drawing an oval or an egg. So that's why we say go up, down, left, right. Count out your radius. And then you can do it in 4s. So you can kind of bloop. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be pretty close. Okay, if we get a lot of ovals or, you know, straight lines or diamonds for some reason, we are going to ask you to go back and regraph it. Again, it does not have to be a work of art, but it's got to look like a circle. So mine's a little off, but that's what we're looking for. Oh, there was a place down here for center and radius. So let's write them down here. I did extra work for myself. Okay, so let's try number 2. Step 1, do we need to rewrite? X minus, no, we're good. Y, there's no minus there. So we need to do a rewrite for the y part. So remember, the x minus 7 is fine. You can rewrite it or not. You don't have to. Since we're not really doing a rewrite, you can copy it down again. How are we going to rewrite the y so that we have y minus? We talked about this yesterday. That would become y minus 0, right? Because y minus 0 is really just y, which would be y squared. And then we still got 4. All right, so let's write our center down here. So what is my h? 7, x minus h. What is my y? Y minus, sorry, what is my k? 0. My radius is that number on the end. We have to take the square root, because remember that represents r squared. And so my radius is 2. So now we got a graph. So again, if you need to, you can darken your x and y axis, just so you know where your origin is. If you can see them good enough, you don't need to do this. So 7, 0 means we go to the right 7, and we don't go up or down. So 1, 2, start at your origin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that puts my center, I'm actually going to change it to red. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Puts my center right there. So I'm going to put it nice so I can see it. And then my radius is 2, so I'm going to zoom in a little so I can see better. So I'm going to start at my center, count to the right 2, 1, 2, put a mark. Then go back to the center, count up 2. Go back to the center, count left 2, and then go back to the center and count down 2. Then I'm going to play connect the parts, and I do it in 4s. There's one piece, second piece, third piece. There's my circle. What we won't accept is if your circle looks like this. Okay, that's not a circle, that's an oval. If your circle looks something like that, that's not a circle, that's a diamond, possibly a square. We won't accept something that looks like an egg. Okay, you got to do your best to do the circle. All right, so see if you guys can figure out the center and radius. So pause the video here. See if you can write down center and radius, and then come back and check. So I'm going to pause for a minute so you can pause. All right, so step 1 says, do we need to rewrite? X minus 3, nope, that's good to go. It's in the right form. Plus y plus 1. Y plus 1 needs a rewrite. We need it to say y minus. We can do that. If we do that, then the 1, we're going to put a negative on. And we still got 49. All right, so I'm going to pull off my h and my k. So my center is, my h is 3. My k is negative 1. And my radius is going to be the square root of 49. Again, if you don't know, use your calculator. It gives me 7. So now we're going to graph. And again, if you would like to darken your y-axis and your x-axis so you can see them a little better, feel free to do that. Starting at my origin, I'm going to go 3, -1. So that's right 3, down 1. So that puts me right about here. And my radius tells me I'm going to count up, down, left, and right from my center 7 spaces. You do have to take your time. Okay, don't rush in counting. I would do it twice. Just make sure you're in the right place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that actually takes us to the very edge of our graph. I'm going to go up 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then I'm going to go left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I'm going to go down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. Okay, now the bigger the circles you get, the harder they are to kind of sketch out. So again, do it in 4s. So just start at one of your places and just give it an arc. Try to meet it up with the other mark that you made. Okay, and you just keep going. There's my second part. And keep going. Okay, and mine got a little off there, but that's okay. Still looks like a circle. And then there. Oh, I could have probably connected that a little better. So that's a pretty decent circle. All right, so let's try the next one. Okay. Again, if you're watching the video, pause, see if you can figure out the center and radius, and then come back. So I look x plus 6 squared. Got to do a rewrite. So that x minus, because that's what we need it to be. If we make it minus, we stick a negative in front of the 6. Plus, same thing with the y. I want it to say y minus. If I make that y minus, I have to make my 5 negative. So that was a double rewrite there for the x and the y. So let's pull our center. So my h, -6. My y, -5. My radius, I have to take the 16 and take the square root. So the square root of 16 is 4. So again, now we're going to graph. If you need to, make these axes darker so you can clearly see your origin. All right, so -6, -5 means we go left 6, then down 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're down here in the third quadrant. And then our radius says go up, down, left, and right. 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3. Make a little mark. 1, 2, 3. Make a little mark. 1, 2, 3, 4. Make a little mark. Make a mark. Now play connect your marks with the little curve. Okay. The minor arc if we wanted to use the right vocab. And so there's my circle. So again, you do have to do your best to make it a circle. We don't want to see ovals. We don't want to see diamonds. And we don't want to see anything like that. Now, the next page, okay, notice down here, crossed out, we are going to ask you just to revisit, make sure you're good with center and radius. So I'm just going to do a couple of these because I think you guys are good with it, but let's just double check. Remember, we need it to say x minus h squared, y minus k squared equals r squared. Oops. Well, let's try that again. There we go. So, number 5. Is it in the right format? Minus, minus, good. So my my center would be 5, 1. And my radius would be the square root of 64. So that would be 8. Okay, we're going to skip 7 just because of the decimal. Not that you couldn't do it, but we're not going to be worried about that decimal. Normally, that's not something that you are going to see. So let's do, because again, you guys have a good handle on this. Let's look at number 10. X minus 3 squared plus y squared equals 32. All right, so x minus 3 is good. But what about the y? Does it say y minus? No, so we're going to have to do a quick rewrite on that so we have a value for our k. So we're going to say y minus, well, what can we put in that's not really going to change the value or mess anything up? A 0. Y minus 0 is just y. And squared, and we still got the 32. All right, so center, now that I have my x minus y minus, my h is 3, my k is 0, my radius is going to be the square root of 32. Now, when you type that into the decimal, into Desmos, you're going to get a decimal. Okay, so remember when we said if you get a decimal, don't write the decimal, don't round it, don't cut anything off. Just leave it as the square root of 32 for your radius. All right, so let's just do 11 just to finish this one off. That's all we're going to do because, again, we've practiced enough with this. I think everybody's okay, but let's just look at 11. So we got x minus, so that's good to go. We have y plus, so you need to rewrite, make that y minus. Remember, when you make it a minus, you have to make that number negative. So my center, my h, 3, my k, negative 4, my radius, the square root of 81. Again, if you're not good with square roots or perfect squares, type it into Desmos. Radius is 9. All right, well, when you go to work on the practice, if you guys have any questions, let us know. And again, be careful with your circles. Do the best to make them look like circles. Thank you.